Welcome back. The boat we're looking at today is the largest in the trailable range of Haines Signature boats, and it's one of their latest models. It's the 702 Walkabout. Now, this boat was designed by John Haines specifically as a fishing boat, following the current trend of a large boat which is still capable of being trailed, which has full walk-around capabilities for playing fish, but which also features comfortable accommodation for a minimum of 2 people in an island-type central cabin. There are other advantages to the layout, one of them being that as opposed to the normal centre console type of boat, the instruments and the driving position are very similar to those of a flybridge cruiser, particularly with a cover over the top, so therefore it's a lot more comfortable to drive. Now, this particular boat is unique as far as 702s are concerned because it's owned by Peter Webster and Ruth Cunningham of Fisherman and Boat Owner magazine. Now, Peter and Ruth are very serious about what they do. They've done it for many years, and they set their boat up in a very specific way to not only be an effective camera boat, and you can see Peter using the camera tower on the top of the boat to shoot us shooting him at the moment, but it also is used for accommodation and for long distance touring all up and down the Australian coast. Now, it has a large number of very special options, and I'm going to let Ruth show us through the boat. Now, the interior of the cabin is remarkably spacious. In fact, the bunks go in underneath the walkways on the side decks. Now, that makes them almost parallel, and there's plenty of room between them for a fully equipped marine toilet, as well as a tremendous amount of stowage and cupboard space right throughout the areas of the cabin, which also locks up with either a zip-up clear cover or fully fitted doors to keep the mozzies out during the night. The electronics array is really quite stunning. It covers the full array from fish finders, depth finders, GPS, and a full range of communications equipment, making this boat suitable for extended out of sight of land offshore passages, as well, of course, as inshore navigation. And the after end of the cockpit features a fully equipped cooking unit. Now, the walk-around capabilities of this boat are really quite spectacular, and if you have a large fish on, it's no problem to walk all the way around the boat to play the fish, which of course is one of the bases of its design philosophy. This is a fully equipped and very serious offshore small game fishing boat, which is also trailable. And Ruth and Peter have also considered the Queensland sun by making drop-down side leaves from the top of the beautifully done stainless steel targa top. Now, as you can see, this boat is powered by twin 4-stroke Honda 90 horsepower outboard motors. And we're going to look at some comparisons of fuel consumption between these engines on this particular boat and the other recommended horsepowers. Now, the maximum recommended horsepower is a single outboards to 225 horsepower or twins of 125 horsepower each. The boat can also be powered with a diesel stern drive of 150 horsepower or a petrol stern drive of 250 horsepower. The power difference relates to the weight of the installation, with the diesel, of course, being considerably heavier than the petrol engine. This boat can therefore be considered to be powered at the bottom of the optimum range with its twin 90 horsepower 4-strokes. So theoretically, the Hondas will have to work harder and run smaller than optimum propellers. Again, in theory, this should adversely affect the fuel consumption. Here are the figures. At 22 knots or 40 kilometres an hour with a diesel stern drive, it uses 33 litres an hour. At the same speed with a petrol stern drive, it uses 32 litres per hour. At the same speed again with a 225 horsepower outboard, it uses 47 litres an hour. And again at 22 knots or 40 kilometres an hour with twin Honda 90s, it uses 30 litres per hour, which is 17 litres per hour under the 225 horsepower 2-stroke. Now, the full throttle figures are even more spectacular. At full throttle and around 40 knots with a 225 outboard, it uses 90 to 95 litres an hour. At full throttle and around 36 knots with the twin Hondas, it uses 58.8 litres of fuel per hour. Now, remember that this particular 702 is carrying a substantial amount of extra weight in the form of its specialised fit-out, and it is 45 horsepower down on the 2-stroke boat. As a result of this, the fuel consumption figures really are spectacular, and they point up the validity of the claims being made in the boating press that most, if not all, outboard powered commercial boats will undoubtedly be powered by Hondas within the next 12 months or so. Now those fuel savings are spectacular indeed. They certainly, if your utilisation is over 4 or 5 hours a week, whatever your boat may be, they certainly make the difference in price, which is 20 to 25% higher for the Hondas, depending on horsepower, justified in the savings in fuel over only a 12-month period. But remember that these engines are 4-strokes. They have a reliability factor which is greater than that of 2-strokes by some indefinable factor at this time, and only experience in the field will point that up. They are also substantially quieter, and they don't have any polluting exhaust emissions. Now that really is a strong message indeed. Now whichever way you power it, the Signature 702 is a spectacular production indeed. In fact, once again it proves the Haines Signature organisation's superiority in the Australian trailer boat field, with a boat which has all of the best qualities of any of its contemporaries built anywhere in the world, and regardless of how you power it or how you use it, it will be a huge asset and a superb boat to live with. We'll be back right after this break.